Russell, everybody. Jenny. 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 Yeah.
Jamie, rip it up.
I'm so glad that you told that story about nobody liking a retard, because I actually have a joke about that. When I first started getting sick, I'm epileptic, and when I first started getting sick, I got really, really sick. I had to wear a helmet and like Velcro shoes, because I didn't have enough dexterity to tie my own shoes. And so like sweatpants and big baggy shirts, and I was really shaky and I could barely get out a sentence. I was really shaky. And I was on the bus going to UBC Hospital to visit my neurologist. And this sort of kindly looking older gentleman, sort of like a Santa Claus looking kind of guy, sat next to me and was like being really nice to me, like, oh, you're such a pretty girl, and I bet you have a boyfriend, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, I don't have a boyfriend, I couldn't really talk to him much. And right before I got off the bus, he leaned over real seductively whispered, I've always wanted to fuck a retard. That actually happened to me. So as I mentioned, I have epilepsy. It has affected my life in a lot of different ways, as I'm sure you can imagine, having a neurological condition does. But there's only really two things I can't do unmodified. I can't drive, and I can't have rough sex in a room with a clapper. I actually also, the condom jokes, the one time I got suspended from high school, I vandalized our condom machine. I wrote on the top of it, for refund, insert baby. I got a 2-day suspension for that. I grew up in Vancouver, born and raised. Is anyone else here born and raised in Vancouver? Oh, okay. I don't really care. I'm just starting a new bit, to be honest. One of the things I don't like about Vancouver, though, is that everybody is really sensitive. People get really sensitive and offended when you have like an unpopular opinion. I have a couple unpopular opinions. One popular opinion that might not go over very well in this room is that I think that cocaine should be sold by the ounce. Right? Because 1 gram isn't enough and 2 is too many. 1.75 is perfect, and that's a 16th of an ounce. But you can't buy that if they don't sell it by the ounce. So, whatever. Social justice warriors get all mad at me. Do you guys think that bats with big dicks have to sleep with their big bat dicks in their faces? Do you think that's a thing? Do you think, and if so, is that comforting or is that horrifying? Is that like a nice bat, dick, hug, teddy bear kind of situation? Or is that like a bat, dick, cock slapping sort of thing? Like, what is that? And if a bat has like a bat wet dream, like dreaming about a really hot bat chick and her like skinny bat legs or whatever, and he comes and he has a wet dream and would he come on his face? Is that why they're blind? Like, is that how location comes from? So my wife and I have been together for 10 years. Been married for 4. Thank you. Thank you. So her friends from high school are really straight. They're like really heterosexual. They, like all the dudes, like at parties, all the dudes stand on one side of the room and talk about like cars and sports or whatever. And all the chicks stand on the other side and talk about like the dudes and like each other. And I don't really know how to like be around them. I'm like, hey, like bat dicks, am I right? Like I don't know how to I don't know how to talk to them. They're really heterosexual. And so my wife and I were going to a party at one of her friends' houses, and she was just super stressed out, like just super tense. And I was like, what's wrong? Like, what's going on? And of course, because she's a woman, she said nothing. And we had to do that for a bit. And then she finally spat it out, like, you can't tell vagina jokes at this party. I've known these people for 10 years. It makes everyone very uncomfortable. Please don't do that. And I was like, first of all, everyone loves my vagina jokes. But also, like, you think I can't go an evening without telling a vagina joke? Like, fuck you. Right? So we get to the party, and it was one of those, like, pay, like, $5 for all you can eat meat or whatever. And I had a purse with, like, a drawstring at the top. And so I was trying to, like, get the money that was at the bottom of the purse and was pulling stuff out and looking for the cash. And as if on cue, somebody said, wow, you can fit a lot of stuff in there. And I was like, that's nothing. You should see what I can fit in my And I look over and my wife is just staring daggers at me. And so I said, that's nothing. You should see what I can fit in my anus. See what I can fit in my anus. Thank you guys for being on.